Picture a galaxy where the very concept of war is little more than an echo from forgotten ages, a nightmare banished to the annals of history. For 2 unbroken centuries, the silence of space has been undisturbed by the fury of starship weaponry. This isn't some fanciful tale, it's the startling truth born from the ashes of the last great conflict, a profound tranquility ushered in by the most improbable of newcomers. Prior to this remarkable epoch of calm, the universe was a maelstrom of disorder. For countless millennia, myriad species had traversed the celestial expanse, some forging alliances, others encountering bitter adversaries. The luxury of standardized record-keeping belonged to a later era, leaving the identities of the true trailblazers shrouded in mystery, their initial encounters lost to the currents of time. Whether they chanced upon nearby civilizations or embarked on voyages spanning centuries, contact invariably drew them into a bustling, yet frequently hostile, galactic society. Vast numbers of diverse races engaged in exploration, commerce, and, with alarming regularity, outright combat. The galaxy presented a bewildering, dynamic panorama, filled with both awe-inspiring marvels and deep-seated apprehension for those newly arrived. Nevertheless, each species, through its own unique journey, ultimately carved out its place within this intricate, often unforgiving cosmic structure. A widely accepted protocol dictated that nascent, system-bound species were to be left undisturbed until their technological prowess matured sufficiently to allow them to venture beyond their native star. This typically involved the development of some form of faster-than-light FTL propulsion, be it warp drive or a similar innovation. This pivotal technological leap often coincided with their societal evolution into a peaceful civilization, poised to contribute to the grand tapestry of galactic life. Regrettably, not all species underwent this benevolent metamorphosis. Some remained stubbornly entrenched in their primal instincts, embracing warfare as an intrinsic facet of their existence. Their assimilation into the broader galactic community proved arduous, frequently marred by violent clashes. Yet, in due course, even these aggressive cultures were absorbed into the collective. Truly, no viable alternative existed. While the overwhelming majority of species regarded war as a perilous, exorbitantly costly last resort, a significant minority possessed a disconcertingly quick trigger finger. This grim reality compelled even the most peace-loving cultures to maintain formidable defensive networks, a stark testament to the ever-present threat. The chilling doctrine of mutual assured destruction held sway, yet it failed to extinguish the embers of conflict entirely. Minor skirmishes, characterized by acceptable losses and minimal collateral damage, were commonplace, but even these adhered to a rigid set of established rules. When hostilities inevitably erupted between two species, the remainder of the galaxy maintained a cautious, respectful distance. Intervention was deemed far too perilous. On the rare occasions when major wars escalated, ensnaring additional species in their destructive embrace, the repercussions were nothing short of catastrophic. Historical archives chillingly recount the extinction of at least 5 species, while several others were rendered perpetual nomads, their homeworlds utterly ravaged and their advanced civilizations shattered, stripped of the very means to traverse the stars. It was considered far safer to allow conflicts to run their devastating course, and in the aftermath, once a semblance of order tentatively returned, to cautiously re-establish contact and commerce with whatever remnants managed to survive. This grim equilibrium persisted for countless millennia, until the utterly unforeseen arrival of the humans. Humanity's initial contact sent profound ripples of astonishment throughout the galaxy, though none were more utterly bewildered than the humans themselves. They had only recently departed their native star system, a remote, sparsely populated corner of the galactic arm, and thus largely unnoticed. Then, without the slightest warning, a human vessel materialized above a densely inhabited planet. It was a literal apparition, devoid of any telltale drive signature, no discernible signs of acceleration, nothing. One moment, empty void. The next, a ship measuring 500 meters long and 200 meters in diameter. The exhilaration on both sides was almost overwhelming. The humans, utterly bewildered yet profoundly delighted to discover themselves orbiting a world teeming with billions of inhabitants and an advanced culture, eagerly sought to initiate communication. It seemed they possessed an innate joy in simple conversation, a childlike euphoria at encountering other sentient life. The planetary government, however, was immediately seized by an overwhelming panic. Fortunately, their sophisticated defense sensors registered no weaponry whatsoever aboard the human ship. Absolutely none. The leadership harbored lingering suspicions that the humans might possess some clandestine method of concealing their ship's internal armaments, but the comprehensive scans provided such intricate detail that this seemed highly improbable. Subsequent covert examinations by
Ambassador Alara Vance during her diplomatic visit to the ship unequivocally confirmed the accuracy of these initial scans. No weapons whatsoever.
This was, to put it mildly, profoundly peculiar. Even the most peace-loving civilizations maintained some form of defensive capability, yet the humans, despite possessing the most formidable shielding ever witnessed, were entirely devoid of offensive armaments. Apparently, their shielding was an absolute necessity, as their vessels sometimes emerged from transit uncomfortably close to celestial hazards like asteroids, planets, or even stars. Their pioneering explorers must have possessed courage beyond all comprehension, or perhaps a touch of profound madness, or even a blend of both. They had refined their navigation to an astonishing degree, capable of positioning a ship a mere centimeter from an asteroid if they so desired, then vanishing before the asteroid's gravitational pull could even nudge it from its orbit. Truly, it was remarkably impressive. Our diplomatic envoys found the human explorers, for that is precisely what they were, a collective of scientists charting what humans termed deep space, to be inherently inquisitive, remarkably transparent, and genuinely thrilled by the encounter. A captivating innocence, almost childlike, permeated their demeanor. Their curiosity was boundless, and their thirst for knowledge, frankly, a little unnerving. As discussions progressed, one of our diplomats, a younger envoy, whose inexperience in interspecies relations accounted for his candidness, casually posed the question that had consumed the entire diplomatic corps and defense leadership.
So, Captain Kalen Reese, the young diplomat inquired, his voice tinged with a blend of curiosity and apprehension. Why does your vessel traverse the cosmos entirely devoid of defensive capabilities?
The human captain's response was straightforward. We have no need for them. Should our transit conclude in proximity to a large celestial body that poses a threat, we can effortlessly reposition the ship before any danger of collision arises. If swift movement proves insufficient, our shields offer ample protection until we can maneuver. However, our navigation AI is exceptionally precise, rendering such incidents exceedingly rare.
Ah, yes, the diplomat acknowledged, a hint of skepticism in his tone, but what of threats from other species?
At this, the human captain paused, a flicker of contemplation in his eyes, before replying, well, a ship is essentially a small body. We would evade it as swiftly as possible to prevent any risk to those involved. We would never intentionally cause harm to anyone.
This answer sparked a ripple of confusion among the diplomatic staff, as they slowly grasped that the human captain simply did not perceive other species as a threat.
But what if they attacked you? The young diplomat blurted out, his voice rising in incredulity. Space pirates, or even Corellian dreadnoughts, or something similar. How would you possibly survive?
The human captain fell silent for a prolonged moment. A kaleidoscope of emotions washed over his face. Surprise, then disappointment, settling into a profound sadness. His subsequent answer, we believed, revealed the very essence of humanity. We relinquished our weaponry eons ago. We have painstakingly learned to reconcile our own internal divisions and discovered the immense power of peaceful cooperation. We have triumphed over our violent past, and we had genuinely presumed that any species advanced enough to achieve interstellar travel would have similarly evolved beyond the need for violence, relegating it to mere historical footnotes.
So, you carry no weapons at all? But what if you find yourselves in a situation where you need them? The young diplomat's bewilderment was stark.
The human captain's terse reply did little to alleviate it. We do not believe we ever will.
A stunned silence descended upon the diplomatic party. They were uncertain whether this was an act of extreme ignorance or profound arrogance on the part of the humans, yet it was not their place to judge. We held the conviction that humans would eventually recognize the folly of their ways, but we were mistaken, and it would not be the last time our assumptions about humanity proved incorrect. Over time, a deep and lasting relationship blossomed with the humans. Trade agreements were formalized. We exchanged an astonishing array of materials, tools, and cultural artifacts. Everything held some intrinsic value to them. The humans, for their part, exhibited an insatiable hunger for information, a profound craving for knowledge. Our history, our diverse cultures, our vast literature, our intricate music, all held a mysterious allure for them. They were particularly eager to discover other civilizations. We readily provided them with contact information, locations, language data, and cultural insights on many of the more peaceful species with whom we maintained relations. Given their complete lack of defensive capabilities, our caution dictated that we only connected them with the most benevolent species. We harbored no desire to inadvertently trigger a conflict that might lead to humanity's annihilation. The only technologies the humans steadfastly refused to trade were the enigmatic source of their ship's power and the intricate design of their transit drive. Their impressive shielding, while formidable, was not inherently more advanced than our own. However, it seemed to draw upon an almost limitless wellspring of energy, rendering their vessels impervious to virtually any threat. There was even a documented instance of a human ship transiting into the gravitational maw of a singularity, a phenomenon humans termed the maw of oblivion. The human vessel emerged unscathed, despite having penetrated so deeply within the event horizon that the effects of time dilation meant almost 70 of their years elapsed in external space before their near instantaneous escape transit engaged. In the early days, before humans became more secretive about their technological marvels, one of our scientists once questioned a human engineer about their transit drive. The engineer's response was nothing short of astonishing.
We once utilized warp drive, much like everyone else in the galaxy, he explained. We traversed space within small, folded bubbles, achieving faster than light velocities. While effective, it still demanded considerable time to reach distant destinations. So, we conceived a grander solution. Our ships, in essence, travel without truly moving. We simply fold space, bringing the 2 points, our current location and our desired destination, into instantaneous proximity. We depart and arrive simultaneously. Truly, it's quite simple.
But the sheer energy required for such a feat, our scientist exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. It must surely exceed the combined output of every star in the galaxy.
The human engineer offered an amused smile. We thought so too, but we found a fundamental mathematical error. It appears the actual energy requirement is merely a quarter of that colossal figure. Our ship's power sources effortlessly provide that, and more than enough to sustain our shields indefinitely.
But how? Our scientist pressed, his curiosity piqued.
Well, the engineer elaborated, it involves the harvesting of energy from the quantum vacuum, a realm where matter and antimatter spontaneously materialize and then annihilate each other in an instant, unleashing immense energy. We've developed a method to harvest and compress that, in a manner of speaking. I am an engineer, not a physicist, so my expertise lies in making the mechanics function. The deeper theoretical underpinnings, however, often induce a considerable headache.
Our scientist's gaze drifted to the human engineer's console, and for the first time, he truly comprehended the colossal magnitude of power contained within the shimmering silver energy fields just beyond the enclosure. The anxiety and fear etched on his face must have been evident even to the human, who immediately offered reassurance.
"Oh, no need for concern," the engineer chuckled. "Everything is meticulously contained and equipped with multiple fail-safes. We haven't experienced a core breach in nearly a century. Our safety record is, quite frankly, impeccable. Besides, should a catastrophic failure occur, we wouldn't exist long enough to even register it. Poof, reduced to subatomic particles in nanoseconds."
The human engineer's nonchalant remarks, however, did little to soothe our scientist's growing unease. For humanity and the rest of the galaxy, progress continued smoothly. Humans embarked on explorations, encountered new species, forged friendships, or at the very least, avoided creating any adversaries. We diligently informed every species we encountered that this new race was profoundly pacifistic and entirely unarmed. This proved beneficial when their ships abruptly materialized over new planets, a phenomenon that often instilled considerable fear in the local inhabitants. Humans primarily focused on establishing trade agreements or at minimum diplomatic missions. For them, cultural exchange held almost as much significance as commercial enterprise. Then, one fateful day, a human ship materialized from transit above a planet controlled by a notoriously warlike species, the Khater. These beings were non-humanoid, characterized by multiple appendages and an exoskeleton. Their large, bulbous bodies rested upon an odd number of legs, adorned with numerous eye stalks, and a diverse array of manipulative limbs, ranging from prehensile, soft tentacles to razor-sharp, steel-hard pincers. This particular planet served as a critical staging area for a planned assault on a neighboring species. The human ship's sudden orbital appearance was both unforeseen and unwelcome. The Khater's response was immediate and devastating. They unleashed a brutal salvo of anti-ship weaponry, searing particle beams, and several mass energy weapons. The human ship, however, simply winked out of existence before any of the projectiles could reach its position. A moment later, it reappeared at a new location above the planet.
"We apologize if we have startled or offended you," the humans broadcast, their voices calm and clear. "We come in peace and wish only to establish diplomatic relations."
The Khater's response was even more ferocious, fueled by the humiliating failure of their initial attack. This time, they deployed their most potent armaments, antimatter annihilation-powered weapons capable of obliterating even mile-long armored dreadnoughts. Yet the human ship remained steadfast. A miniature supernova erupted at its coordinates as the weapons detonated on target. When the incandescent debris and searing radiation finally dissipated, the Khater were left in stunned disbelief, witnessing the small human ship floating serenely, utterly undisturbed.
The human captain transmitted again, his voice now slightly distorted by the immense energy residues swirling around his vessel. "We apologize once more if we have caused you alarm. We intend no harm, and our sole desire is to establish contact with new species for the mutual exchange of knowledge and technology. We will depart your system in peace if that is your wish."
The Khater leadership deliberated, realizing they possessed no other recourse. They transmitted a simple, curt request.
"Please leave. Tell no one what you saw here."
The human response was a single, resonant word, "Acknowledged," and with the startling abruptness characteristic of their transit, their ship vanished. But the Khater could not dismiss what they had witnessed. The technology, The sheer power, it was beyond their wildest imaginings, a force that could grant them absolute galactic dominance. Thus, the Khater embarked on a desperate quest, inquiring about the peculiar little ships that appeared and disappeared at will. Every species they questioned offered the same perplexing assessment. Humans, completely harmless. They don't even possess weapons, yet each interrogated species also privately believed that the humans would now surely recognize the undeniable necessity of armaments. The Khater meticulously selected a remote human colony world, home to 6 million inhabitants, for their inaugural strike. Their strategy was brutally simple: arrive with overwhelming force, seize the planet, plunder any human technology for reverse engineering, and leave no survivors to report their actions. The sudden materialization of several dreadnought-class ships and hundreds of destroyers, carriers, corvettes, and other vessels above the human colony initially seemed to cause no alarm among the inhabitants. In fact, they merely issued standard orbital parking instructions, assuming they would soon be greeting a new species. The Khater then launched multiple shuttles, each hurtling towards a large human city on the planet, and each laden with an antimatter weapon. The initial strike utterly devastated the planet's unsuspecting population. The humans, caught completely off guard, had neither raised their shields nor adopted any defensive posture, as if such measures were even within their capabilities. Waves of assault dropships followed, occupying smaller settlements, rounding up humans, and frantically collecting technology. For the Khater, everything was unfolding precisely according to plan. Well, almost everything. The first unforeseen complication was the presence of a lone human ship in orbit upon their arrival. This vessel's crew, witnessing the horrific attack and widespread devastation, immediately initiated transit out of the system. The remaining non-human ships in orbit were summarily destroyed. The spaceport itself erupted in a sympathetic explosion before anyone could fully comprehend the unfolding catastrophe. The risk of compromised secrecy had been acknowledged by the Khater leadership during mission planning, so the escape of a single human ship did not unduly perturb High Command. Confident that a human response posed no genuine threat, they viewed this as merely a diplomatic inconvenience, one they could easily dismiss with the bounty of stolen technology. The second and far more profound failure was their fundamental misunderstanding of humanity. The chilling record of events was later recovered from a military intelligence satellite deployed by the Khater on the system's periphery. This was a standard procedure for post-battle analysis and damage assessment. From its scorched memory core, the Khater finally unearthed the reason for their mission's catastrophic unraveling. A Khater infantry unit had encircled the human power station. The sole surviving member of the staff within was Chief Engineer Lena Petrova, who had managed to barricade herself in and activate a localized, smaller version of their shield system around her position. The local Khater commander, convinced the situation was firmly under control, commenced the systematic execution of captives and widespread destruction. No one truly knows what the human engineer had intended, but the Khater had located her family. In a desperate attempt to force her surrender and gain access, they brutally executed her family members directly in front of the power station. They believed this act would utterly shatter the human's will to resist. She cried, she wept, she collapsed, and for a tense period nothing moved. The Khater were certain they had achieved complete control, but the human harbored a different plan. The final images transmitted from the power station depicted the human engineer clenching one fist, its central digit defiantly extended vertically, while her other hand furiously punched a sequence of commands into a console.
Chief Engineer Lena Petrova's stark realization: they took everything. My family, our home. Peace is a luxury we can no longer afford without the will to defend it. My defiance will be their undoing.
What transpired next had not occurred in centuries. The engineer had deliberately triggered a core breach, overriding every fail-safe mechanism. The ensuing explosion obliterated the planet, every ship in its vicinity, and a significant portion of the inner system, in an event eerily reminiscent of a star going nova. The system's central star itself wobbled perceptibly in its orbit as the gravitational forces violently readjusted to the rapid redistribution of mass and energy. Not a single cut hair, human, or any other living being within the system survived. The cut hair meticulously analyzed their mission's catastrophic failure. The escaping human ship had indeed warned other systems. Consequently, humans now maintained their shields raised around entire planets. Incoming cargo vessels were meticulously cleared, and only then were the planetary shields momentarily lowered to permit landing. While a minor inconvenience, this measure effectively maintained calm for a time. The Khater subsequently acquired several cargo ships of alien design and successfully landed them on another human colony. This initial landing proved successful, but the landing force, having established a precarious foothold around the spaceport, suddenly found itself enveloped within a human shield. The humans, left with no alternative, had simply erected a spherical energy barrier around the entire spaceport and calmly demanded the Khater's surrender.
They defiantly refused.
The humans then commenced reducing the shield's volume. As the enclosed space relentlessly contracted, the shimmering energy wall inexorably bulldozed everything in its path towards the sphere's epicenter. Panicked Khater troops desperately retreated, suffering mass casualties as they futilely attempted to blast their way out. Nothing worked. Finally, when the bubble had shrunk to such an extreme that the trapped troops were literally standing atop one another, piles of debris, vehicles, weapons, and bodies compressed into a single, massive amalgamation within the shield's confines, the air pressure so immense that breathing became a struggle. The humans halted the compression. Once more, the humans offered terms of surrender. The Khater merely had to lay down their arms, walk out, and they would be safely transported off-planet.
Such an ignominious defeat, however, was utterly unacceptable to them, and they steadfastly refused.
With a visible expression of profound sadness on their faces, the humans adjusted the controls for minimum shield diameter, which was a bit less than half a meter. In a terrifying split second, the remnants of the entire Khater landing force, all their ships, the spaceport structures, their weapons, and every other material object, had been compressed into a sphere barely half a meter across. Its density was so extreme that it promptly plunged into the planet's crust. A series of seismic tremors rippled across the world as the compressed mass reached the molten mantle, where it was finally permitted to expand and be absorbed by the magma. The resulting colossal crater remained unfilled, forever named the Well of Tears. For it was there that humanity had lost family and friends, and it was there that a long-cherished history of peace had at last come to an end. The rest of us in the galaxy watched, as was our custom when such cataclysms unfolded. We braced ourselves for the inevitable Khater victory, and we waited with a glimmer of hope to see how the humans would fare in this unprecedented conflict, for we had grown to admire them. Our curiosity was also piqued by their utter lack of weaponry. What would they do? What could they do? Initially, they appeared to do nothing, or so we believed. We honestly had no idea what humanity's response would be, but what they ultimately did, well, we learned the true nature of humans. The humans dispatched a single ship, just one. Their diminutive vessel materialized within the largest Khater military staging area they possessed. An entire planetary system had been meticulously transformed into shipyards, weapon production facilities, troop training grounds, and housing, a colossal military complex sprawling across an entire solar system. 6 planets, hundreds of space stations, and thousands of vessels of every conceivable type constituted this formidable stronghold. The human ship appeared directly above the system's command post, situated on one of the inner planets. They broadcast the following chilling message.
We came in peace, and found war, long forgotten, and now resurrected. We will fight until you ask for peace.
The Cut-Hair leadership failed to grasp the profound implications of this message, dismissing it with little thought. A single human ship, they reasoned, posed no tangible threat. It could neither harm them nor be harmed by them, or so they foolishly assumed. Indeed, the human ship vanished from orbit mere seconds after delivering its cryptic declaration. The Cut-Hair were utterly perplexed, largely resuming their work. A few minutes later, however, their activities ceased abruptly. Across the entire system, eyes turned towards the central sun. It had acquired an unsettling, peculiar hue, and was it shrinking? Sensors were frantically recalibrated and directed towards the system's central star. They located the minuscule, atom-sized speck of a human ship, astonishingly close to the stellar behemoth, and it was doing something to it. The star was undeniably shrinking, imperceptibly at first, then with an accelerating, terrifying rapidity. What the humans had wrought was the extension of a shield bubble around the star, which they then proceeded to compress. Smaller and smaller it became, until its diameter was less than its own event horizon, a nascent mini-black hole. The Cut-Hair forces watched in abject horror as their star dwindled, and an absolute suffocating darkness enveloped their entire system. The human ship then transited out of the system, back to who knows where. The star, its incredibly compressed mass no longer constrained by the energy wall of the shield, and lacking sufficient gravity to maintain its form, violently exploded. Physicists across the galaxy continue to debate the precise events within those miniature black holes, but the outcome was irrefutable. The entire system was annihilated in a single, colossal supernova event. A handful of severely damaged ships that had begun to warp away when the star first dimmed survived to report the system's loss to an utterly incredulous Cut-Hair High Command. Scout ships dispatched to verify these unbelievable reports could not approach closer than several billion miles due to the expanding cloud of superheated plasma. Aside from a small, rapidly spinning neutron star emitting X-rays at the system's core, nothing remained. Uncertain of the true nature of the situation, the Cut-Hair inexplicably escalated hostilities. They launched attacks on human ships within starports, any starport, human or otherwise. In some instances, human ships managed to extend their shields, preserving most of the port. In others, the entire starport was obliterated, leaving the human ship alone intact. Amidst a scene of utter death and destruction, humans found themselves with nowhere to go, as their mere presence seemed to invite devastating attacks. For their part, the humans found the senseless loss of life tragic, and they resolved to put an end to it, once and for all. We, the galactic observers, believed they meant the Cut-Hair War. We were once again mistaken. The humans continued to dispatch ships, each time a single vessel broadcasting the unwavering message: "We came in peace and will leave in peace." Wherever they encountered a system completely occupied by Cut-Hair forces, they annihilated it, by supernova or other equally devastating means. Eventually, a chilling sense of detachment seemed to settle upon the humans. They began to devise novel and increasingly imaginative methods of Cut-Hair destruction. One human captain, in a particularly audacious maneuver, actually transited the central star out of its system. The resulting chaos caused by the loss of its gravity sent 8 planets and countless asteroids careening wildly into deep space, where, deprived of their star's warmth, they froze solid, transforming into barren, airless wastelands, eternally preserved in cold and vacuum as they drifted through endless darkness. If that wasn't terrifying enough, that same captain then transited this stolen star into a new system, thereby creating a binary system utterly inhospitable to life. Where humans encountered systems with mixed populations, they wielded their energy shields with surgical precision. Like scalpels, they meticulously scooped Cut-Hair installations directly off planetary surfaces, leaving behind perfectly hemispherical craters. Space stations and ships were either crushed or transited away. One captain, apparently disinclined towards direct violence, would simply transit the Cut-Hair ship or station to a system 80,000 light-years distant across the galaxy. Our standard warp drives, would have required approximately 800 years for them to return home. In another instance, a lone human ship simply materialized above a major Khater installation and remained stationary, enduring the relentless bombardment of every weapon the Khater possessed. Ultimately, the location became uninhabitable due to the massive quantities of radiation, forcing the Khater to evacuate. The human ship merely transited away once the Khater ran out of munitions. Occasionally, another species ship would venture into a Khater system, only to discover an unsettling void. The entire system reduced to empty space. Scans revealed no trace of what had transpired, yet everyone knew humans had happened. As the rest of the galaxy watched in a mixture of awe and horror, the Khater's territorial holdings across the galaxy dwindled. Their formerly occupied territories reverted to indigenous control. Their vast fleets of mile-long dreadnoughts, their factory planets, entire solar systems dedicated to production, all were irrevocably lost. Khater casualties soared into the billions. Eventually, they ceased counting. Finally, only a handful of systems in close proximity to the Khater homeworld, Xylos, remained. A single human ship, 500 meters long, 200 meters wide, materialized above their homeworld. Once more, the unwavering message was broadcast.
We came in peace. We will leave in peace. You only need to ask.
At long last, the Khater leadership had reached its breaking point.
Wait, came the desperate reply. Please, wait.
The human ship remained motionless.
Will we have peace? They implored. The Khater almost pleaded. Yes, peace, peace at last. Please, one request?
What? Asked the human ship.
The Khater replied, their voices tinged with despair. We are utterly lost, so weakened by the war, we cannot even defend ourselves from the smallest aggressor. You will achieve your peace, but we will cease to exist as a people. Is this the ultimate price of your peace, our complete destruction, if not by your hand, then by another's?
Silence hung heavy for a time. Finally, the human ship responded, its tone unwavering.
If you truly desire peace, then you must relinquish all weapons of war. Your warriors must undergo retraining. Your science must be wholly devoted to rebuilding. You must commit unequivocally to peace. If this is your genuine wish, we will help you.
The Khater countered, but how will we survive? All will prey upon us. Our former enemies, emboldened by our losses, will conquer and crush us.
After another brief pause, the humans replied,
Then we shall protect you. We had once hoped to discover a galaxy teeming with races akin to our own, seeking knowledge and enlightenment, evolving through shared experiences. We still cherish this desire. To all who ask, we will exist in peace, and we will protect that peace.
That pivotal moment occurred over 200 standard galactic years ago. The humans, true to their word, diligently assisted the Khater in their monumental task of rebuilding. Today, the Khater are celebrated for their unparalleled construction prowess. Leveraging the wisdom gleaned from humanity and their own tireless rebuilding efforts, they can terraform planets to precise specifications, construct cities or vessels of an elegance and efficiency previously unimaginable. As for the rest of the galaxy's inhabitants, one by one, we approached the humans, seeking their peace. One by one, the other races willingly surrendered their instruments of war, and the humans graciously accepted their hands, tentacles, or claws of friendship. A few species, skeptical by nature, attempted to test the veracity of humanity's promise. However, the occasional inexplicable disappearance of a ship, a star, or an entire solar system swiftly disabused them of the notion that warfare remained a viable option. A select few races dwelling on the fringes of civilization chose to remain outside this new order, maintaining their militaries intact. The humans, remarkably, were content with this arrangement. If these outliers initiated no conflict, the humans would have no cause to end it. We had once harbored the apprehension that we would now live under human overlords, a species possessing such immense power that they could have easily established themselves as deities and tyrants, yet they sought only to resume their boundless quest for knowledge and trade. War, once a pervasive reality, has now become a mere academic curiosity or a subject for historians, which every species diligently ensures its younglings learn is too utterly horrifying to even contemplate. The humans continue to utilize their diminutive ships, but their evolution extends far beyond such conventional means. Now, if they wish to travel as a collective, they simply transport their entire planet with them. So much easier that way, they casually remark. For individual travel, they have miniaturized their power source and drive to a size a single person could carry. A lone human can materialize or vanish right beside you, with little more than a subtle shift in air pressure to herald their arrival or departure. They refer to this phenomenon as popping in or popping out, an ancient term apparently from their distant past.